told you earlier, I pretty much always, I'm having to send my fiance a picture or something right quick, so I'm sorry.
Dude.
I always mute people for the most part, unless I hear they're like normal speaking adults. I won't talk to children, of course, which is very smart, but I listened to these kids that were on my squad the other day because they were the most offensive, disgusting people I've ever heard. I could not believe it because usually I report adults that are saying fuck in front of a 10-year-old. You can identify the kid's way too young to be hearing this and you hear, God damn, motherfucker, fuck you. So I report them and just say, they're cussing and saying stuff in front of little kids. These little kids were like, I'm going to fuck your mother. I'm going to penetrate your mother, you motherfucker. And they're saying that to each other.
They don't know what half of it means.
No, because one kid said, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 10. He goes, oh, big words for a 10-year-old. And
Yeah,
he said,
they're just
fuck
repeating.
you. But I thought, it got way more graphic than that. But it was like blowing my mind that somebody, one of two things has happened, right? A sibling does all this in front of them and is not careful at all, doesn't care. Or it's such bad parenting that they let their kid play that thing totally unmonitored, which is probably true, or a combination of the two. But
Are you on silent, by the way?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I just couldn't believe that the worst stuff I had heard so far in this game was a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I don't know how old the third kid was, but it was some of the worst shit I have ever heard. Stuff I've never even said. And I say a lot of bad stuff.
I've got a short script that I wrote, just the outline for. I haven't fleshed it out completely, but it's basically about a guy that gets into it with a kid, like a teenager, like 13, 14-year-old, online through a game, and then he finds out like his identity and stuff, and then starts to court his mother. And then after they get married and stuff, and he's his stepdad, he reveals who he is.
That's pretty awesome.
I thought that would be a fun revenge
That would
story.
be great. That's hilarious.
Your perspective is you went through a bunch of shit, and your family has gone through shit. You've just a crazy amount, but you still maintain a very positive outlook on the world as a whole. To where I would say that I understand why somebody would want to commit suicide. You don't, because why would you want to leave this wonderful world?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, that is definitely true. A lot of stuff, like I had a wonderful childhood. There's nothing I can complain about there. It was all stuff in adulthood, so perhaps that's part of it. But I also saw my idealistic view of my family and our little world shattered to a billion pieces in a couple of different ways, just back to back to back.
As in adulthood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mid-20s, mid to late 20s, somewhere in there, for about a 6-year period that just every single thing that could go wrong went wrong, and didn't just kind of go wrong. It was as bad as it could possibly get. My mother was struggling with, we still don't know exactly. It's got to be bipolar or personality disorder. My sister definitely has been diagnosed with the personality disorder, and my ex-wife was diagnosed at the same time with bipolar. So there was a weird dynamic amongst those three, and it was extreme. The backstabbing, infighting, trying to pull people to their sides over things, but then everybody coming together for holidays to pretend to be nice. Pressure cooker, and then on top of that, my dad stepped out on my mom.
When was that?
Same time as all this is going on.
Did he leave because of that?
No, didn't leave.
Oh, he didn't leave.
No, he just had an affair.
Oh, okay.
And my mom found out, so all of this stuff came together at the same time, and also at the same time we had a baby. So lots of things changing.
Your kid?
Yes.
Okay.
Lots of things changing. I took on a new job. So, you just kind of paint that picture as there's no stability, right? You've got people that are mentally, I don't want to say unstable, but there is regular inconsistency in behavior, right? So you don't know what you're coming home to. You don't know what you're going to a family event to experience, because everybody's emotions are just on roller coaster rides. And I'm trying to stay level. I'm also trying to fit in at a new job in a new world where I've never been in before. The economy at that point, we're talking about the crash happening at this time. So at work, we were being told, I can fire you tomorrow. There's a million people looking for jobs. There's no jobs, so you're not going to go be able to get another job. So you're going to do what we say. I get phone calls at 7 a.m. saying, I could be at the end of your street, so I hope you're out working, or else you'll be fired. I mean, it was like constantly berating. So you get that professionally, and then the emotional struggle of trying to track down the truth amongst these different people that are struggling with their own emotional issues. My ex-wife had gone through just horrific stuff that I don't even want to say, that she went through her childhood that was complete opposite of mine. Like I said, my childhood was great. Her childhood was just beyond horrific. So some of that came from hers. My mother went through the same thing, being raped as a child by an uncle. And so I got to experience the aftermath of that in a couple of different ways with different people, right? What happened to them through their childhood, they struggled with it through adulthood. It transformed how they connect with people emotionally and mentally. And there were definite suicide attempts that I helped save them and prevent them both. That was pretty tough. That's not something you ever expect to walk in on, or try to save somebody from hanging themselves. I did that. I picked my mom up off the floor after she had overdosed on pills. Slapped the living shit out of her when she threatened to ram her car into my house because my dad was in there. So all this stuff is happening just back to back, and it gets worse than those things. But
there was nothing in your childhood.
Nothing in my childhood, no.
Well, not that you can remember, or
no.
There was nothing, like, because maybe it was hidden.
Well, what's going on with my parents? Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay,
they did a great job of hiding it, and I was always pretty fiercely independent, even through childhood. Especially once I got into my teen years, and very much so now as an adult. But
so even in your teenage years, like, they hid it still?
Yeah, I would say nothing exploded or became weird for me until about 24, 25.
Is that whenever your dad had the affair?
Yeah.
So do you think that was the catalyst? That was just like, fuck it, it's all out in the open now?
Probably, yeah. It was. My mom could no longer hold things together. She had been broken, I guess, emotionally. And my dad went through his childhood was horrendous too. I mean, he was beaten mercilessly by his father with a cane. I've got the cane here. I mean, I kind of keep it as a reminder, I guess. Kind of weird, but it's served as a wonderful reminder to me. Never to raise my hand to my child or anyone else, because he's never told me. But my mom explained to me what his childhood was like. A military father that just beat the living shit out of him, and even though he got better grades, better performance in sports, better job, better family, all this stuff compared to his brother, he was always belittled in comparison to his brother because his dad just had a better connection with his older brother. Now his entire family is dead. He has nobody living on that side, and that all kind of died with him. But my dad did a great job of learning not to do that with us. So we were never spanked. We were never. We were yelled at, I'm sure, for pissing him off, but we never felt threatened or anything like that.
Is your dad alive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He is, yeah.
You have a good relationship with him?
Yeah, my parents are actually very well past everything now. They've actually made up together.
Oh, they're together?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they overcame a lot. They did go see a therapist together. I think they worked on plenty of stuff. Once we all overcame this giant hurdle during that period where all those crazy things were happening, they realized we cannot bring our kids into this, and separated themselves from us. And we really didn't talk for quite a while, because during that period, I was told, we hate you, we're disappointed in you, you are...
This is what your parents told you?
That's what my mom was saying. But this also when she was struggling mentally. This is why I feel like my experience kind of helps give a different perspective, because I was told stuff that I'll never forget. I mean, I will never forget the stuff that was said to me, right? And it took years to not get over it, but to accept that it was said during a time period where she was not well mentally. Same stuff with my ex-wife. I mean, she said stuff to me that I'll never forget. It's stuff that just, beyond cuts to the core. It makes you question who you are.
Like deep,
what you've been
personal,
doing. Yeah.
What you've been doing. Attack.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Deep personal attacks.
Wow.
That you just can't imagine somebody that you're that connected to, yes, would ever say those things. And it got so bad that I didn't know what I was contributing to the world, didn't know, if I should be in this family, in this marriage, or any of these things right anymore. And we did ultimately divorce, and it was a great deal in part to all of that. But we actually probably get along better now that we're divorced, which, I hear a lot of people say that. But my family gets along incredibly well now, so we all did overcome it. But the deepest, darkest parts were, pulling somebody off a rope. I mean, hanging themselves in the closet and pulling somebody off the floor with foam coming out of their mouth. Those things that, when I picture people talking about suicide, I do picture them going through situations like that or worse, like, the beatings, the rape, whatever adults do to children, and awful things they've seen, people being killed, car crashes, things like that. But I just can't imagine the tunnel closing, right? Not even have tunnel vision, because I had tunnel vision for sure during all this, to where I thought it cannot get better. It's just going to keep going like this. But how I made sure there was no seal to that tunnel, right? So there was a view, how narrow it may have been, because of things like music, art, traveling, you name it. I mean, conspiracy theories.
Anything that was outside that helped you escape.
Yeah.
The reality of what they were facing.
Yes. I mean, I would say I definitely use a lot of stuff as an escape, but my view on it has always been, I guess, the wonderment, right? The how, you said it earlier, which is what I've told you before, how do I leave this place when there's so many unanswered questions, when there's so many things I haven't seen, getting to be at the top of a mountain, getting to do, you name it, any cool thing that somebody wants to do or go see. I want to do all of them, see all of them. So to consider cutting everything short just means that all those things are gone for good. Mm-hmm. And there is no answer to what you're going to do next, if there is a next, that satisfies me. So therefore, even in the darkest moment of being told, I'm the greatest disappointment they've ever had, I'm the, worthless, all those types of things, you're being told by someone that raised you, right, and told you all along your childhood, you're doing great, you're wonderful, you're awesome, and they tell you you're the greatest disappointment ever. You don't get much smaller than that, right? And you don't get much more, I don't know, upset, depressed, whatever. But even in those moments, I still never considered anything like suicide, because it was so exciting what could be next. Like, I knew there'd be another day. I knew there'd be another week, month, a year. And what am I going to do in those moments? Now, in that exact second, I'm not thinking of all those things, but they're always there in my mind. So there was never a consideration of taking myself away from all those opportunities, because there are endless opportunities.
I think that's the reason why somebody would do it, is because they don't see what you see. They don't see the next. But
even those moments, you can't see it. You gotta build that.
But you have to have that kind of psyche too, to even whenever, because it's something as what is the word that I'm looking for? Just when you're just in the moment, you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not plotting it. You're not thinking about it.
Right.
You're just like, well, this is it. This needs to be it. I'm ready to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I see. That's how I was able to process what the mentality could be, because I get so anxious with so many things, and you're thinking about what could be next.
Mm-hmm.
I want to climb the mountain, and I'm sitting here going, my anxiety's peaking, saying, what am I going to miss? But at the same time, I'm thinking if I'm suicidal, then I'm also thinking I don't care what I'm going to miss.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel that heightened, anxiety from the potential.
Well, I think that's something everybody should keep in mind, though, is that build up that desire, that love for the next unknown, the next opportunity. Because I took a trip to England when I was 17. It's the first time I ever been on a plane, and my very first plane ride was going 14 hours to London. I was terrified. Coming back, I was still terrified. I didn't think I would ever do it again. But then another opportunity came up to fly somewhere else, and I did it almost immediately. If you will help yourself learn that there is a next time, and I think that's I don't want to say learned behavior, but you just kind of prep yourself mentally continuously to say, there will be a next time, there will be more, there are endless opportunities. You can maybe deal with your fear a little bit easier in the moment, right? If you don't, it's kind of like the pick your head up. I say that at work a lot. Pick your head up for a minute. You get so ingrained in something, whether it's a project, an obsession, I don't care if it's music, a podcast, work. If you get so deep into it that you don't even pick your head up to look at the moon at night, you don't pick your head up to look at anything incredible that you can't do, you can't control, and feel a sense of wonder when you enjoy that moment. It can be your child learning something new, whatever you pick. Pick your head up outside of what you're doing, which includes your depression, your living in that exact moment of the heightened anxiety and everything. Pull back for 1 second and just look at something different. Pick your head up. You will probably start pulling yourself out just a little bit enough. And if you got that stuff in the back of your mind, like I keep in my mind of what all those endless opportunities could be, then you start going, well, maybe there's no reason to end everything, because yes, today sucks, tomorrow's going to suck, next week will suck, but there's a chance in a year, there's a chance in 6 months, I may be doing something totally different. There may be somebody different in my life. Another opportunity arises, you don't know. And so the excitement there is what could be. So I don't think you just automatically are born with it. Some people might be, but for me, I think I've worked at it a lot, because I was terrified of going anywhere at 15, 16, 17. Definitely was not going to get on a plane. Our big family trips were to Colorado, right? It's a simple car ride from Texas, no big deal. But nothing more than that. And I always had family there to, make us feel comfortable. Well, now I'm traveling on my own. At this point in my life, I've probably been on, 300, 400, 500 flights, if not more. I've been to almost every single state in the country. I probably will be by the time I'm 2 or 3 or 4 years from now. Traveling is just a regular part of my life, but years ago I was terrified of it. I worked on it. I slowly accepted that the risks and the excitement outweighed the risk. The opportunities were too exciting for me to pass up, and so any fear I had was marginalized. And I kind of look at that, look at what we're talking about the same way. Yes, you can go through something awful, and yes, it will affect you negatively in ways that other people don't understand. And this in no way is meant to marginalize that or downgrade your experience, because everybody's experience is different, and you won't truly ever be able to get that across to somebody, right? If you say I was raped and beaten and slapped every single day as a child, other people may have went through that. They still don't get your experience because they weren't there for yours. And every experience is different. It's just like how you taste something.
Well, and everybody's defenses are different too.
Yes.
I'm sitting here thinking, man, like what you're saying right now, pick your head up. That's beautiful. Like that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. But then, if you tell the same thing to somebody that was raped for 12 years of their childhood, to just pick your head up. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa, it almost seems like insulting to say something like that to them. Just
and that's why I'm saying
don't experience.
It's not meant to marginalize. What it's meant to do is help you deal with it, not help other people understand you, not help you get fit back into society. Who gives a shit about all them? You'll find your niche somewhere if you give yourself that opportunity, and that's what this pick your head up thing is really aimed at. That's what you need to tell yourself. I'm not here to tell you to do that. And I don't think you need to go tell somebody in your family to tell you to pick your head up every time you're down and depressed and upset. You put that in the back of your head and you tell yourself that.
You remind yourself to do it.
Yes.
Just like you remind yourself to breathe.
Yes. To me, it's a coping mechanism. And I do it all the time. I mean, I'm ingrained right now in the largest project I've ever been involved in at work. It is at a critical and miserable moment, and I tell myself basically every single day, pick your head up and do something else. Go figure out what my child is doing that's new and exciting to him, because then that gives me excitement, right? It's just something to pull you out of that moment that you're in that's suffocating you. Because even though I don't suffer from depression, I don't suffer from suicidal thoughts or anything, I regularly feel suffocated, stomped on. I mean, the things like that probably are not true, but anxiety heightens everything, right? And tensions rise in your team, whoever's around you, maybe your family, maybe coworkers. You could just put yourself in a tense situation like playing video games, right? If you are so deeply ingrained in that, you can heighten up the tension yourself to where you feel like something negative is going to happen to you if you fail. Well, apply that to anything you do. The pick your head up mantra really just says, do something totally different that would excite you or interest you or inspire you, so you get a moment to breathe. Mm-hmm. You get a moment to pause all that anxiety, and I know that's not hard. I know that's very difficult. I struggle with that quite a bit, to change my mood, right? If I'm pissed off because something got screwed up that shouldn't have, I don't just go, oh, look, there's mountains. I'm very excited and happy now. It's not that easy.
Right. Like I was, while you were sitting here talking about it, my first reaction to it while you were talking was I put up a defense, and I was sitting here readying a rebuttal to what you were saying about picking your head up. And then I stopped, and I stopped doing that. And I go, no, put it down, listen. And that's whenever, I realized this is, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think guys like us, right, that grew up in music scenes, art scenes, whatever, suffered from that a lot, right? You'd have people saying, that sucks. You pick it. I don't care what. You're into something. You're a poser. You suck. You name it, whatever the dumb adjective is for that, right?
Anything you tried to belong to, you're told you're a poser.
Yes, it doesn't matter what it is, right?
But we accept everyone because we're freaks. But you're a poser, so fuck off.
Right, exactly right. You've got to develop a sense of defensiveness that makes you want to create a rebuttal for anything, right? Mm-hmm. I think that comes from being made fun of as a kid, or not fitting in somewhere, or liking something that your peers aren't into. They don't get it. They don't want to try to get it, so therefore they kind of make fun of you. It may just be easygoing ribbing, but still, you probably take that to heart to a degree. So that's where I think that rebuttal, that sense of need for rebuttal comes in. And this, hopefully, like you just said, helps you just put that down for a second and go, shit, maybe I don't need to fight somebody on everything all the time, simply because it doesn't apply to me this second. Mm-hmm. Because, again, this isn't me telling you what to do. This is supposed to be for you to tell yourself what to do. And the only reason I had told you I wanted to do this was because that's what I do, and that's what... that sense of excitement for the unknown, for what's next, has kept me feeling this way, reacting this way to all kinds of challenging stuff throughout the years. And it just keeps me happy. I don't know how.
That's what I found really intriguing whenever you told me you wanted to do that, because I at the time didn't know you that well, especially your penchant for early '90s sci-fi television, Saturday afternoon fare.
Definitely.
But when you told me about some of your family, but you also told me that you had such a sunny disposition towards the world in general, it was like, that was very intriguing. So I'm glad that we definitely are getting to do this finally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind saying what I said to you, which was, I love being alive. Like, I love it. This is one of the hardest times of my life right now because of work, not because of other stuff going on. My personal life is going very well. Work is the most challenging it's ever been. I still don't have any negative outlook. I still wake up excited every morning to enjoy coffee, to turn on a new record, to walk outside and see how the air feels. I mean, all those things still excite me. I don't look at anything as a droning behavior that, rudimentary tasks that you have to get done. I actually think making my bed helps me feel better in the morning. Making coffee myself makes me feel better in the morning.
Do you think that your independence is is feeding that quite a bit?
Could be. It could be. I mean, I like to accomplish things. So, I mean, there's an awesome book.
It's so nice to be able to accomplish things without people tearing them down right after you're done,
yes.
too.
Yeah, of course. But I taught my son that. We use that book, and it's pretty famous, called Make Your Bed. A real short little book just on things you can do. And it's from a Navy admiral, I believe.
Yes, I saw a video. He did it was at a graduation ceremony.
Yes.
And whenever you said making your bed excited, you always like, I remember that speech.
Yep. It's awesome book. Our company gave a copy of that book out to everybody this past year. Some have read it. You can definitely tell some have not. But I even have my son read it. I'm working with him on it, doing a chapter at a time, because I think that's something that should not go forgotten, should not be forgotten. Something as simple as making your bed. His point is, you make it in the morning, you've completed a task, right?
You feel accomplished.
You feel
have
accomplished.
That sense of accomplishment right there.
You say that out loud, it doesn't sound like much of anything, but you just do that yourself and make it a regular routine, and you do start to feel better. Cleaning this house, once a week at minimum makes me feel better. It's not just decluttering, but I'm accomplishing laundry, I'm accomplishing dishes, I'm accomplishing cooking dinner and then cleaning right afterwards, right? That it sounds dumb. I'm exhausted from work. I'm exhausted from my son wanting to talk through everything Pokemon related,
but
right?
The next morning, whenever you look and you don't see any
don't
dishes,
have the clutter.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm so glad I did that.
I'm walking out into a clean room. My kitchen doesn't smell bad. My living room is picked up. If you accomplish those little things, I think you find more value in greater tasks, right? Because like I keep mentioning how hard it is to work right now. There's a finish line we're about to be at, or we're going to fail, and my team can't really see the finish line anymore because of how much they've been struggling and how much this project's been getting to them.
Are you the lead, or are you?
I am.
Okay.
Yes. I'm about the only person left that thinks we're going to make it. So that's hard to drag everybody across the finish line, even though they want to, throw the flag and say they're done. But I attribute that to, I make my bed every morning. It sounds dumb. I make bed every morning. I make my own coffee. I clean up I may have a mess made of all the records I got out. I put them back. I put them in a certain order. It's just, if you start putting those tasks out in front of other things, it keeps your mind open. Obviously, that's one of the things that's been proven, that if you keep a clean home, you are less stressed, because clutter equals stress. But you've accomplished things. So then when I go to work, I think, hell, I've already got this laundry list of things done, whether it was last night or this morning. All these things are accomplished. I've knocked them all out. Now I'm ready to get to something bigger. Those bigger accomplishments start weighing on me a little more in terms of their value rather than their stress. Because now I feel value in completing tasks like making your bed, which is exactly what the book explains. So as long as you start assigning that value to small tasks, then you work up to medium, up to large, then you start seeing I can do these things and there's a great value in doing it, which means I'll work harder, I'll be more dedicated, whatever the case may be. But you also find a great sense of, I guess, internal worth by accomplishing those things. If, I've been to friends' houses where you can tell they haven't cleaned in a year, right? I mean, there's food everywhere, trash everywhere. Typically, generally, and I don't know everybody, so I'm just making a generalization based only on what I've experienced. They were not happy people. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the same sense of excitement to be alive that I feel like I have. And that's no judgment. I wish they would get there. Doesn't make me any better of a person in any way. What it does is help me mentally understand I am doing the right thing, because I don't feel any animosity towards other people or hatred because my house is shit. My clutter has swallowed me. I mean, watch the show Hoarders, right? That's a great way to motivate yourself to not become that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think
look how miserable they are.
Look how miserable they are, and look how they turn on their families. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to live that way. I don't want to be that person, because all that stuff pulls you down and weighs you down, heightens up the anxiety, and that takes you away from all the excitement, all the wonder.
Especially because you're walking around and constantly going, I need to do this, I need to do that.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to break myself of, not saying I need to do this.
Just do it.
But I'm doing this.
Yes.
Just stop putting it off. That's been my thing my whole life, is procrastination.
And do it little by little. I mean, that's I think what they try to get to, or what's kind of misleading, I guess, in Hoarders, is they bring in a team, right? Professional team that comes in and cleans everybody's house out as fast as they can. And we got to
make a 30-minute episode out of it.
Yes, and we're going to get this house clean that's been a wreck for 30 years. We're going to clean it up in 3 days, and it's going to be totally different looking. And then magically it is, just like any of the renovation shows, right? You see a home renovated in 30 minutes and go, man, I can do that. Then you go to Lowe's, buy the paint, new ladder, new hammer, come back and you go, holy shit, it's going to take me 6 weeks to paint this house, and to fix these things up.
It's the same thing whenever I first I started getting interested in making movies. Mm-hmm. You're surrounded by people that are saying they're going to make a movie. They have all these ideas. They've even made a poster. They're ready to go. They're excited, but they haven't stopped to consider everything that goes into doing it.
Right.
So it's like, and that's one reason why I haven't really jumped right back in, is going, I feel like wearing all those hats again, man. That's a lot to do.
When you have to do it, that was my point. You got to do it piece by piece. I mean, you just cannot take on a giant project all by yourself. I don't care if it's cleaning your home. Let's use that example of cleaning your home. Yes, you can do it all by yourself. I misspoke, but you got to do it piece by piece. You got to go room by room. You're not going to get the whole damn thing done in one day, right? If it's been a year, just like making a film, you're not going to make the whole film in one day. You got to do it in bits and pieces. Just like making an album. I'm not going to go in my music room and record a whole album in 30 minutes and hand it over. It's 8-9 months worth of work. There's some musicians that I've read about that have worked 3 or 4 or 5 years on an album before they're ready to release it. You got to have that patience and that vision. From the smallest things to like making your bed, clean your house, up to projects at work or creating a piece of art that you're really happy with. But your vision has to be split into pieces, right? And that's how you accomplish things, rather than just looking at the whole thing going, can't do it, overwhelmed, now I'm anxious because there's so much expected of me, I quit. If you section things off, and the home, that's why I keep going back to cleaning your house, is the perfect example. Your home is already sectioned off. So you're going to do your child's room today, you're going to do the laundry room tomorrow, you're going to do the kitchen the next day. Now I'm out of days because I got to go back to work. Great. Make a plan for the next weekend. Right? The next weekend's going to be the garage. That's a 3-day thing. The next weekend's going to be the dining room and the living room. Right? I mean, you can accomplish things, and before you know it, your home would be totally renovated in whatever aspect you want. But I think that self-defeating nature comes in when you look at a project as a whole and go, I can't do this all by myself. And that creates that anxiety. Getting back to where we were, that creates that sense of, head down, I can't figure this out, I'm lost, I'm alone, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I don't know what's going on anymore. Pick your head up, look around, find something that inspires you, then make a plan. Like, I write stuff out all the time for the littlest things. My grocery list is followed by got to go to the record store to look at a game for my son, right? I've got to go. I write these things out. I'm going to do this first, this next, this next. All I'm doing is creating a plan in my head and then visually representing that in a list, so I kind of remember that even more. It's just like studying when you're in school. But I have so many things going on that if I don't do that, I'll lose track of what I'm trying to do, which creates anxiety. That I'm out wasting gas, wasting time, haven't accomplished the goals I wanted to accomplish. So make a plan of action, do it in smaller chunks, and then go get them done one by one. That to me has been a recipe for success in staying away from large amounts of anxiety, large amounts of depression. I just don't have those issues. I definitely get angry, I definitely get upset, I definitely get hurt by things. But they never pull me away from that sense of just being ultra excited to be alive.
That center of excitement.
Yes, ultra in love with
Well, and that's
with this
those
life.
are all normal emotions. Emotions are fine.
Yeah.
But it is like, it's when you drown in them.
And I think the pick your head up piece is what prevents you from drowning, right? I mean, that's literally how you prevent yourself from drowning, is putting your head up above water, right, and keeping it there.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be a great way to look at it. I think we went on a cruise years and years and years ago, and my son tried to swim to the bottom and got pulled down, and I had to rescue him. And he's throwing up underwater. This is terrifying. I'm having to swim back to shore, holding on to him. And we finally, everything's okay. He's doing just fine. And start talking to him about what happened. And he started saying, I lost where I was at. He's trying to describe when he's underwater and he got deep underneath, the current started pulling him. He wasn't sure where he was at anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I told him, or some mutation of pick your head up, was you got to keep your head upward so you have a good sense of where you're at, instead of constantly looking at the bottom, because the bottom's going to keep pulling you down, right? It's going to keep pulling you to it. It's kind of the misery loves company.
It's so easy to focus on it because
right.
It's constant.
Yes. But you got to keep looking back up to understand how deep you are, how your exit plan, how do you get back to a sense of normalcy, which is breathing. To me, this is part of that. This is, or I guess really my way there is to always look at something exciting, always be excited by something. I mean, we as our group of friends, you and myself and our other friends, you guys kid around with me quite a bit about how much music I buy. It's because there is no end in sight to the excitement I experience for new music.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
virtually
never
infinite.
ending. It is. It costs a lot. That's okay. That part hurts at times, but I don't let that stress me out too much, because the reward is so much greater than the stress of paying for it, that I just find a way, right? And there is no end there to that level of excitement. Well, that's just one thing. You can find that in art, making movies, making new friends, moving around, traveling. You pick it, you do it. Instead of being bogged down with, I don't know if I should go do this, I would definitely recommend whatever it is, you go do it, because I have no idea that you get a second chance, and you don't either. You can tell me what you have faith in, you can tell me what you hope for. You don't know for a fact. Nobody does. So don't let all of those worries and anxiety pull you down to the bottom to where you can't figure out how to get your head back up, because if you don't get back up, you'll miss the view, you'll miss the opportunity to go to something different, you'll just miss out. And to me, there is nothing worse than missing out. There is nothing worse. I don't care what it is. I don't care what somebody I love could say to me. I don't care what could happen to me to where I lose that totally. If that makes sense.
It does. One thing, it was weird that we're talking about this, but I was thinking about it this morning. As far as like, worrying about that kind of stuff, being someone that believes whenever you're done, you're done. Mm-hmm. When you die, that's it. It kind of, there is I don't know how to explain it, but you don't care what you miss because it's done with. You're done.
I don't. I mean, I completely understand what you're saying. I don't feel the same way in any sense. And that's okay. But I would just say that, do you truly want to be done with the entire world? Which means, you'll never get to go to Sweden. You just pick something. You'll never get to see, I don't know. I mean, you name any piece of art, any film that you're anxious for, the next album from a band you love, you'll never get to experience those things. So is ending the situation that you're locked into right now and that feels like that's what's drowning you worth missing out on all those things? To me, no. It never would be.
Right. And I think that at any point whenever you are thinking about that, then of course you're going to say no. I would like to experience those things, mm-hmm. even if you're just in the biggest deep hole. That could be something that pulls you out. Is thinking about, well, I don't want to miss whatever.
Right. Focus on it, but you got to build that up too. You can't get deep into all that and then go, oh. Well, I remember hearing "Pick Your Head Up." It's not going to work.
Like, as far as I understand it, the desire to commit suicide isn't like a thing that you're holding on to. Mm-hmm. It's just like you're walking around that day and you're probably having a bad day, some bad shit's happening. Mm-hmm. You're falling into that hole. You're just looking straight at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, well, fuck it. And then, you grab a razor, you grab a rope, grab whatever, and you just do it. You don't think about what's next. You don't think about what you're going to miss. You don't even think about what your family is going to think when they find you. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I've thought about. That is that it's one of the things that's kept me from doing anything. Yeah. Is that I don't want them to have to find the body.
Right.
But I think that it's so in the moment right then that you don't think about those things. And I understand the exercise and picking your head up and reminding yourself of the good. Mm-hmm. And I think that can be very helpful and it's very good. But it still makes me scared for the people that are
so far
unwilling
down
or so far down, to where they don't.
I don't disagree. That's why I think I would stress the point I made earlier, which is you got to work on it, right? That if you're already so far down and you hear "pick your head up," it may not work in the moment. It might. You may latch onto something that it just worked for you. Just like how something took you that far down, there may be something that brings you back. You don't know that. But to me, if you kind of work on this, I would relate it to breathing techniques, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to become better at breathing, helps with anxiety, helps with your health. Yoga teachers, anybody that's working on that with you would tell you got to work on it. You don't just all of a sudden have the capability to do all that deep breathing for elongated periods of time, and you
have to stretch it like a muscle.
Yes, exactly right. So you're doing the same with your brain. You're doing the same with your thinking, which is very possible. I mean, that just because somebody is locked into a mental disease or emotional issue doesn't mean you cannot work on your brain and change your thinking, because it's been proven to be true. Well, it is harder for certain people, just like somebody that weighs 500 pounds trying to get back into shape. Much harder than a guy that's 140 pounds, mm-hmm. but it can be done, and there's 1,000,001 proofs of that. So you've got to make your bed, go back to that. You've got to start accomplishing certain goals so you feel that little bit of reward. And then you've got to start building up your thinking that there are all these things I want to accomplish, or all these things I want to do, and think about them regularly. Don't taunt yourself. Don't hurt yourself over. I want to go to Sweden so bad.
Don't dangle it in front of yourself like
just
it's
think
some
about,
prize.
I may be doing that when I'm 80, right? I may be doing that when I'm 65. I don't know, but I want to do it, and I want to do it enough.
You can
where
even
at some point I'm going to
envision
figure it
yourself
out.
there.
Yes.
And that way, there's a positive
Yes.
spin to it.
Yes.
I think my 6-year-old has the best example of getting out of a hole that I've kind of thought about since he did. I think we're at a birthday party or something like that, and this kid like got stuck somewhere in like a jungle gym, whatever, and he yells to my kid. He goes, "Hey, help me out!" And my kid turns to him and goes, "You got in there.
Yeah.
You can get out."
Yeah. That's great.
So it's like it was interesting to me, one, that a 6-year-old like
could think that
put
way.
that together and
Yes.
put that kind of rational thought.
I guess very accurate. I mean, not everybody puts themselves there.
Right.
They put themselves there mentally, right? You keep digging your own hole. Somebody else got you to that hole, right? Somebody that raped you, beat you, whatever the case is, left you, hurt you. They got you to that hole and gave you the shovel. You're the one that decides to keep digging.
Yeah.
Can other people help you?
And it's hard because
stop?
you got to realize before you can do anything, you have to realize that you are digging
Yes.
your own hole.
Yes.
And like the big thing too is like huge now is the victim mentality.
Yes.
Which, oh man, it's as bad as like people pretending to be to have mental disorders and stuff like that. It's horrible.
Well, and there's a huge industry built around that, so they'll take any and all